Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradari. Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradari. Yashoda Nandana Braja Ranjana. Yashoda Nandana Braja Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradari. Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradari. Yashoda Nandana Braja Ranjana. Yashoda Nandana Braja Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Madhava Shri Radhe. Jaya Radha Kalashanji Shri Radhe. Jaya Radha Govinda Shri Radhe. Jaya Radha Shamasunda Shri Radhe. Jaya Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada. Shri Radha Madhava ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. These invocation verses, if we could do together, both the Sanskrit and English, please. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devyam sarasvatim vyasam tato jayam udirayet. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of the Godhead, Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Sarasvati, the goddess of learning, and to Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nashtapreya Shabreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhaktivi Naishtaki. By regular attendance on classes on the Bhagavatam, and by rendering service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome in the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, whose praise with transcendental songs established as an irrevocable fact. Om Gyan Tamarandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshuran Mitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Sarasvati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavati Pasyatai Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So today we get to hear about Krishna being bounded by a rope. Oh my gosh, wow. So we'll go through Canto 10. I believe it's chapter 9, 13 through 21. We got it coming up right now. Yeah, if somebody can get started with a
The
phone.
Supreme Personality of Godhead has no beginning and no end, no exterior and no interior, no front and no rear. In other words, he is all-pervading. Because he is not under the influence of the element of time, for him there is no difference between past, present and future. He exists in his own transcendental form at all times, being absolute beyond relativity. He is free from distinctions between cause and effect, although he is the cause and effect of everything. That unmanifested person who is beyond the perception of the senses has now appeared as a human child, and Mother Yashoda, considering him her own ordinary child, bound him to the wooden mortar with a rope.
Purport by Srila Prabhupada. If I may, encourage you when we read through these purport, if you lightly hold what Srila Prabhupada's saying and think of just one thing that you could share with somebody else and see what that does when you read a purport. Huh? I might call on you. In Bhagavad Gita 10:12, Krishna is described as the supreme Brahman, Param Brahma, Param Dhamma. The word Brahma means the greatest. Krishna is the greatest, is greater than the greatest, being unlimited and all-pervading. How can it be possible for all-pervading to be measured or bound? Then again, Krishna is the time factor. Therefore, he is all-pervading not only in space, but also in time. We have measurements of time, but although we are limited by past, present, and future, for Krishna, these do not exist. Every individual person can be measured, but Krishna has already shown that although he is also an individual, the entire cosmic manifestation is within his mouth. All these points considered, Krishna cannot be measured. Now, how then did Yashoda want to measure him and bind him? We must conclude that it took place simply on the platform of pure transcendental love. This was the only cause. Altogether, please. Advaitamachutam rupam adyam purana purusham navayavanam cha vadesho durla damadar ladamatma bhakto govindam hari pujam tamaham bhajami. Everything is one because Krishna is the supreme cause of everything. Krishna cannot be measured or calculated by Vedic knowledge. Vedushu durlabham. He is available only to devotees. Adurlabham atma bhakto. Devotees can handle him because they act on the basis of loving service. Bhakti mam abhijante yavan yas chasmi tatvataha. Thus, Mother Yashoda wanted to bind him. Now, I know there's somebody out there in the crowd that goes, I got something, Nanda Braja, and I want to tell you. I'm sorry, we're going to the next one.
When Mother Yashoda was trying to bind the offending child, she saw that the binding rope was short by a distance the width of 2 fingers. Thus, she bought another rope to join to it.
Purport. Here's the first chapter in Krishna's expedition of unlimited potency to Mother Yashoda. When she tried to bind him, the rope was too short. The Lord had already shown his unlimited potency by killing Putna, Shaktashura, and Trinavarta. Now Krishna exhibited another vibhuti, or display of potency to Mother Yashoda. Unless I agree, Krishna desired to show, you cannot bind me. Thus, although Mother Yashoda, in her attempt to bind Krishna, added one rope after another, ultimately she was a failure. When Krishna agreed, however, she was successful. In other words, one must be in transcendental love with Krishna, but that does not mean that one can control Krishna. When Krishna is satisfied with one's devotional service, he does everything himself. Sevan mukhe he jivado svayam eva sporatya adya. He reveals more and more to the devotee as the devotee advances in service, jivado. This service begins with the tongue, with chanting, and with taking prasad of Krishna together. Atya Shri Krishna Namadi Na Bhaved Grayam Indriyaya Sevan Mukhe Jivado Svayam Eva Spruti Adyaha. 16, please. Wait a minute. Govinda, what'd you get from that purport? Pay attention next time, okay? 16, go ahead.
This new rope also was short by a measurement of 2 fingers, and when another rope was joined to it, it was still 2 fingers too short. As many ropes as she joined, all of them failed. Their shortness could not be overcome.
Man, how frustrating that must be. 17, go ahead, please.
Thus Mother Yashoda joined whatever ropes were available in the household, but still she failed in her attempt to bind Krishna. Mother Yashoda's friends, the elderly gopis in the neighborhood, were smiling and enjoying the fun. Similarly, Mother Yashoda, although laboring in that way, was also smiling. All of them were struck with wonder.
Purport. Actually, this incident was wonderful because Krishna was only a child with small hands. To bind him should have required only one rope, not more than 2 feet long. All the ropes in the house combined together might have been hundreds of feet long. But still he was impossible to bind, for all the ropes together were still too short. Naturally, Mother Yashoda and her gopi friends thought, how is this possible? Seeing this funny affair, all of them were smiling. The first rope was short by a measurement of the width of 2 fingers, and after the second rope was added, it was still 2 fingers too short. If the shortness of all the ropes were added together, it must have amounted to the width of hundreds of fingers. Certainly, this was astonishing. This was another exhibition of Krishna's inconceivable potency to his mother and his mother's friends. 18, please.
Because of Mother Yashoda's hard labor, her whole body became covered with perspiration, and the flowers and comb were falling from her hair. When child Krishna saw his mother thus fatigued, he became merciful to her and agreed to be bound.
Purport. When Mother Yashoda and the other ladies finally saw that Krishna, although decorated with many bangles and other jeweled ornaments, could not be bound with all the ropes available in the house, they decided that Krishna was so fortunate that he could not be bound by any material condition. Thus they gave up the idea of binding him. But in competition between Krishna and his devotees, Krishna sometimes agrees to be defeated. This Krishna's internal energy, Yogamaya, was brought to work, and Krishna agreed to be bound by Mother Yashoda. I remember early in my days hearing about Krishna, and when I heard that him and his friends wrestle and Krishna loses sometime, I was just like blown away. I was like, I played sports all my life, and so, you did whatever you could to win. And then hearing that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, God would lose to his friend, I was just like, oh my, what is this? 19, please. We won't go through this purport because we'll do this is the focus first, but just a translation, please, Govinda.
O Maharaj Parikshit, this entire universe, with its great exalted demigods like Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma, and Lord Indra, is under the control of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Yet the Supreme Lord has one transcendental attribute. He comes under the control of his devotees. This was now exhibited by Krishna in this pastime.
20, please.
Neither Lord Brahma nor Lord Shiva, nor even the goddess of fortune, who is always the better half of the Supreme Lord, can obtain from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the deliverer from the material world, such mercy as received by Mother Yashoda.
Purport. What can you share in this purport with someone else? This is a comparative study between Mother Yashoda and other devotees of the Lord, as stated in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi 5.142, Ekale Ishvara Krishna, Arasadva Britya. The only supreme master is Krishna, and all others are his servants. Krishna has the transcendental quality of Britya Vasyatya, becoming subordinate to his Britya, or servant. Now, although everyone is Britya, and although Krishna has the quality of becoming subordinate to his Britya, the position of Mother Yashoda is the greatest. Lord Brahma is Britya, a servant of Krishna, and he is Adi Kavi, the original creator of the universe. Tane Brahma Hirdya Ya Adi Kave. Nonetheless, even he could not obtain such mercy as Mother Yashoda. As for Lord Shiva, he is the topmost Vaishnava, Vaishnavanam Yata Sambho. What to speak of Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, the goddess of fortune Lakshmi is the Lord's constant companion and servant, since she is always associate with his body. It even says in the translation that she's his better half. Wow. But even she could not get such mercy. Therefore, as Maharaj Parikshit was surprised, thinking, what did Mother Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj do in their previous lives by which they got such a great opportunity? The opportunity to be affectionate father and mother of Krishna. In this verse, there are 3 negative pronouncements. Na, na, na. When anything is uttered 3 times, do it, do it, do it, one should understand that this is meant to indicate great stress on a fact. In this verse, we find na labre, na labre, na labre. Yet Mother Yashoda is in the supermost exalted position, and this Krishna has become completely subordinate to her. What other famous verse in our Sangha do we have that repeats 3 times? No other way, no other way, no other way. The word Vimuktadad is also significant. There are different types of liberation, such as Sahuja, Salokya, Sarupa, Saristi, and Samipya. But Vimukti means special mukti. When after liberation one is situated on the platform of prema bhakti, one is said to have achieved vimukti, special mukti. Therefore the word na is mentioned. That exalted platform of prema is described by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as prema pum arto mahan. And Mother Yashoda naturally acts in such an exalted position in loving affairs. She is therefore Nitya Siddhya, devotee, an expansion of Krishna's Haladini potency. This potency, to enjoy transcendental bliss through expansions, who are special devotees, Ananda Chinmaya, Rasa, Patibhavedita Bahi, such devotees are not sadhana siddhya. Okay, I will ask this time. What did you get out of this purport that you could share with somebody? Raise your hand. Come on. Just one thing you could share. Yes. I don't think it's on. Oh, there it is.
In a verse, when there's something given great stress, it's stated 3 different times.
Yeah, right? If we read purports by Srila Prabhupada thinking like this, what is something I could get to share? It will transform your life. It will help you become a preacher. And it will help you that when it's your turn to sit on the Vyasasan, it just comes natural. You don't have to think. You just speak the words that Srila Prabhupada did. So I'm encouraging each person to do this because Srila Prabhupada's purports are his ecstasies. And there's each something in here that we can just share. We might not share it, but we might get to share it. And when you get to share it and the opportunity comes, oh, it's so nectar. But even if you don't get to share it, thinking like this, reading through the purports like that, they come alive. They come alive in your life. And that's the point of Bhagavatam, is it isn't just words on a page. It becomes alive in your life. 21. Last one, and then we'll go back to our focus verse. Translation? Please.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, the son of Mother Yashoda, is accessible to devotees engaged in spontaneous loving service, but he is not as easily accessible to mental speculators, to those striving for self-realization by severe austerities and penances, or to those who consider the body the same as the self.
Purport. Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as the son of Mother Yashoda, is very easily available to devotees. Wow. But not to tapasvis, yogis, ghanis, and others who have bodily concept of life. Although they may sometimes be called Sanatan Bhaktas, real bhakti begins with Dasharasa. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 4.11, altogether, Ye yata mam prabandhyante tam statatva bhajamyaham mama vartmano vartante manusya partha sarvasya. As living entities surrender unto me, I reward them accordingly. Everyone follows my path in all respects, O son of Pritha. Everyone is seeking Krishna, for he is the super soul of all individual souls. Everyone loves his body and wants to protect it because he is within the body as the soul. And everyone loves the soul because the soul is part and parcel of the super soul. Therefore, everyone is actually seeking to achieve happiness by reviving his relationship with the super soul. As the Lord says in Bhagavad Gita 5.15, Vedyascha sarvir ham eva vadyaha. By all the Vedas, it is I who am to be known. Therefore, the karmis, ghanis, yogis, and saintly persons are all seeking Krishna. But by following in the footsteps of the devotees who are in a direct relationship with Krishna, especially the inhabitants of Vrindavan, one can reach the supreme position of associating with Krishna. It is said, Vrindavanam partityaja padam ekam na gachati. Krishna does not leave Vrindavan even for a moment. The Vrindavan Vasis, Mother Yashoda, Krishna's friends and Krishna's conjugal lovers, the younger gopis with whom he dances, have very intimate relationships with Krishna. And if one follows in the footsteps of the devotees, Krishna is available. Although the Nitya Siddha expansions of Krishna always remain with Krishna, if those engaged in sadhana siddhi follow in the footsteps of Krishna's Nitya Siddha associates, such sadhana siddhis also can easily attain Krishna without difficulty. Wow, thank goodness. I was getting worried there. But there are those who are attached to bodily concepts of life. Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, for example, have very prestigious positions, and thus they have the sense of being very exalted Ishvaras. In other words, because Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva are guna avatars and have exalted positions, they have some small sense of being like Krishna. But the pure devotees are inhabitant Vrindavan, do not possess any bodily conception. They are fully dedicated to the service of the Lord in sublime affection, prema. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has therefore recommended prema pum arto mahan. The highest perfection of life is prema, pure love of relationship with Krishna. Pure love in relationship with Krishna. And Mother Yashoda appears to be the topmost of devotees who have attained that perfection. Wow. Mother Yashoda and Radharani are competing. Don't tell anyone. Okay, we'll go to 19, and this will be our focus verse. And then I'll read the purport there. I'll add a couple things that I hope can encourage us in our spiritual life, and then we'll have a discussion on these. Evam sandarashita hi agna harina pritya vasyataha svavashnapi krishnena yasyedam seshvaram vase evam sandarsita hi agna harina pritya vasyataha sva vasnapi krishnena yashedam seshvaram vase Bolo, please. Evam Sandars. Svaveshnana Krishnena. One more, please. Oh. Word for word together, please. Evam, in this matter, Sandarsitya, exhibited. He, indeed, Adanga, Omraj Brikshit, Harina, by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Britya Vasyata, his transcendental quality of being subordinate to his servitor or devotee, Sva Vashena, who is within the control only of his own self, Api, indeed, Krishnena, by Krishna, Yasya, of whom, Idam, the whole universe, Sva Ishvaram, with the powerful demigods like Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma, Vashe, under the control. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. O Maharaj Parikshit, this entire universe, with its great exalted demigods like Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma, and Lord Indra, is under the control of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Yet the Supreme Lord has one transcendental attribute. He comes under the control of his devotees. This was now exhibited by Krishna in his pastime. Purport. This pastime of Krishna is very difficult to understand, but devotees can understand it. It is therefore said, Darshamyas tad vidam loka atmano bhaktavasyatam, Bhagavatam 10:11-9. The Lord displays the transcendental attribute of coming under the control of his devotees. As stated in the Brahma Samhita 5:35, altogether, Eko pi uchitam jagadat ananda kotim yat shaktirastit nandachayam yadantaha anyantarsta paramano chantarstam govindamadi pujam tamaham bhajami. By his one plenary portion as Paramatma, the Lord controls innumerable universes with all their demigods, yet he agrees to be controlled by a devotee. In the Upanishads, it is said that the Supreme Personality of Godhead can run with more speed than the mind, but here we see that although Krishna wanted to avoid being arrested by his mother, he was finally defeated, and Mother Yashoda captured him. Lakshmi Saras Satya Sambaram Sevayamanam. Krishna is served by hundreds and thousands of goddess of fortune. Nonetheless, he steals butter like one who is poverty-stricken. Yamraj, the controller of all living entities, fears the order of Krishna, yet Krishna is afraid of his mother's stick. These contradictions cannot be understood by one who is not a devotee, but a devotee can understand how powerful is an unalloyed devotional service to Krishna. It is so powerful that Krishna cannot be controlled by an unalloyed. It is so powerful that Krishna can be controlled by an unalloyed devotee. This Britya Vasyata does not mean that he is under the control of the servant. Rather, he is under the control of the servant's pure love. In Bhagavad Gita 1:21, it is said that Krishna became the chariot driver of Arjuna. Arjuna ordered him, Senor Ubhyayor Madhya Ratyam Stapaya Me Chutya. My dear Krishna, you have agreed to be my charioteer and to execute my orders. Place my chariot between the two armies of soldiers. Krishna immediately executed this order, and therefore one may argue that Krishna also is not independent. But this is one's ajnan, ignorance. Krishna is always fully independent. When he becomes subordinate to his devotees, this is a display of Ananda Chanamaya Rasa, the humor of transcendental qualities that increase his transcendental pleasure. Everyone worships Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and therefore sometimes desires to be controlled by someone else. Such a controller can be no one else but a pure devotee. Okay. We got 10, 15 minutes. Yes, and we can have questions. There's so much here to talk about. Very interesting. Think about Sarvasya Prabhu, Krishna saying in the Bhagavad Gita, I am the source of all spiritual material worlds. Everything emanates from me. What is that emanation? Well, we have a creation that just the material world is said to be like a beach full of sand. And just one grain of sand is a universe. And that is only 1/4 of Krishna's creation. And of all those sand, all those grains of sand, there's one that we're in. It has a Lord Brahma. How many heads does our Lord Brahma have? 4, right? And there's Lord Brahmas with 10, hundreds, thousands, millions. And so this one universe that we're in, created by our 4-headed Lord Brahma, it's unimaginable how big. The scientists are completely bewildered by the size of our universe. It cannot be measured. There's 3 planetary systems that we understand. We have a lower, middle, and upper planetary system. And then we have this planet Earth that we're on, right? This planet Earth has 9 trillion people, right? 9 trillion humans. Billion? Oh, okay. I was. Thank you. And 2/3 of it's covered by water, and we can't even measure the bottom of the ocean. There's innumerable living entities in the ocean that we can't even understand. And on this world, there's 7 continents, right? And we have one country that's America, and America has 350 million people. And we have this Texas, right? Texas has 31 million people in Texas. And we have a county that's called Dallas County and a DFW. DFW has about 9 million people in it. And then we have a neighborhood in Dallas County that has about 200 amazing devotees around it. And of this, we have a temple right here. And in this temple, there's 20 to 30 of us. And not to mention that when you sneeze, it's said that there's 100,000 contagious germs in just one sneeze. Huh? It's gross. 100,000. We were just talking about humans. How many living entities are just on this earth? We can't comprehend it, right? And so we come to Radha Kalisanji Dham in a temple, and there's this person on a Vyasa same named Nanda Braja Das, and he thinks he's the controller of everything, and he's the center of the universe. Raise your hand if you also catch yourself as the controller of everything and the center of the universe. Brihat Mridanga is Aditya Siddhya. Hare Krishna. This is interesting, right? I remember seeing a TikTok or a little short on YouTube, and there's this YouTuber talking to this young gentleman, and the young gentleman, he's kind of nerdy-ish and stuff, got glasses and got a strangly beard, and he talks like this, and he says, there's a person who walks right in front of him, and the YouTuber says, wow, that was rude, the person just walked right in front of it, and the guy says, well, it's kind of expected, right? We're all walking around, we all have our problems, they're all relative. Everybody has a problem that they think is just as important as anybody else's problem. And they're just sitting there in their own world, thinking about their problems, thinking about the things they did. So it's not that unusual, is it? And the YouTuber's like, whoa, where'd this come from? But it's not that unusual, is it? It's kind of natural to a certain degree, right? But if it's natural to a certain degree, it's important about the perspective that we go through to be part of the control, to be part of the center of all creation. And so there's a great knowledge that we as devotees have to give to others. Srila Prabhupada so wonderfully says, it's because of, how does he word it? He said, the lack of, how does he put it? The lack of knowledge. Yeah, he says it in a different way. But he's saying that the problems in our life, what's that? poor fund of knowledge. Thank you. It's so worded so nicely, a poor fund of knowledge. So it's a poor fund of knowledge, and as devotees who have this knowledge, it's our job to give the knowledge of Srimad Bhagavatam. And what is this knowledge? You can be the center of all of the things that are controlled. You can be part of the whole entire universe. You can be part of the center of everything. But it takes a wonderful change of heart. You have to stop being the center, and you have to put Krishna in the center. And then all of a sudden, you're connected with the center of everything. So Mother Yashoda is doing her activities, and there's nothing more important to Mother Yashoda than what's going on right now, right at that moment with her and Krishna. It is the center of everything. And so, we can get out of the suffering of the material condition by making this shift. This natural shift, this natural understanding. However, it comes at the cost of a few things. What is that cost? Well, we have to give up our independence. A little tough. We like to be dependent, right? And we like to be independent. And so we have to shift to becoming dependent on the right source. Srila Prabhupada so expertly says that no matter what in our lives, we are controlled. We're either controlled by material nature, or we controlled by spiritual nature. And us as the marginal energy can be controlled by one another. So we have some choice here. But really, beyond that choice, we don't have so much control. This world, Maya is so strong. The modes of material nature are so strong that they have us doing things that we question all the time. Why did I do that? What the heck? That's not good for me. So, us as devotees, we hear from Srila Prabhupada and we start to get this fund of knowledge. And we start to put ourselves out of the center and put Krishna in the center. And we start to get a fund of knowledge that starts to create dependency on the Lord's devotees and the Lord. And if we take it one step further even, there's even another thing, another ingredient besides dependency that's even stronger. What is that? Do you have any guesses? Love. Amazing, huh? We just talked about this creation. We went through so many different layers of the creation. What is it that Krishna doesn't have that you can give? Is your Ferrari going to? See, earlier I was talking about, I grew up in sports. And when you play sports, it comes with austerity. If you do austerity, you get stronger. You become more lung capacity. You become faster. And so growing up in an atmosphere of this competition, it was natural for me, it's natural for me to come into Krishna consciousness with the same kind of mood. That if I do some kind of austerity, then I can overcome this, and this. But Krishna's not impressed like my coach would be impressed when I can lift 325 pounds. Wow, great job, Nathan. Now you get to be a starter on the line. Come on. There's a wonderful story of Sudama Brahman that really wraps this quite up. This, his Brahman is so poor, and he's so poor that his wife says, "We gotta do something. You're starving. I need you to make sure you can eat." This is really a caring, loving perspective, way of carrying out. She wasn't even worried about herself. She was worried about her husband. And she says, Krishna, go. You're friends with him. You went to school with him. And he says, nah, I don't want to bother him. So eventually, the better half is always right. So he goes. But he goes with just a small offering of chipped rice. Growing up in America, I didn't understand what chipped rice was for. So I imagine this as at the bottom of the Wheaties box when you're done with your cereal, there's like crumbs, you know. You pour out your cereal and you're like, oh man, I got the dust of the Wheaties, the dust of the Fruit Loops, you know. So Sudama had the dust of the Wheaties to offer Krishna, you know. He comes and Krishna's so happy to see him, so joyful, hugging him. Sudama's so embarrassed. He's hiding, doesn't even want to give it. But Krishna's like, come on, you brought something, right? No, I just came here. No, you have something I can see behind your back. And Krishna finally gets it from him and eats the Wheaties dust and goes straight into ecstasy, rolling on the floor. And so this is a great story for us that our austerities, our greatness, the whatever we can give is not impressive to Krishna. Matter of fact, a mother, a father, they get a gift from their children. It's a painting. It's a drawing. And the kid's 3 years old. And Mom, Dad, I drew a picture of the family. And the dog looks like a rat. Dad looks like a stick figure with, you know, maybe a big belly or something like that. And Mom doesn't even have hair, you know. And from an art perspective, people be like, man, this is completely off. But what do Mom and Dad think? Oh my gosh, this is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. I'm going to frame it and I'm going to put it on the wall. And then when anybody comes to the house, look at what my son, my daughter made for me. This is love. It overcomes so much. So we come to this story that we've heard so many times, that there's 2 fingers in the shortness of the rope. And those are indications that one is Krishna's mercy and the other is the endeavor of the devotee. But we should understand what kind of endeavor that we're doing. Is the endeavor through through dependency on our spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, Krishna? Is it through love, or is it through some kind of gyan, karma, yoga, some kind of austerity that we're trying to earn something? It's not that we shouldn't do the activity. It's not that we don't take responsibility for the sadhana that we have to do. But we do have to check our attitude. We have to become dependent like Mother Yashoda. Mother Yashoda gets to a point where she gets so frustrated, she throws her hands up in the air, kind of like Draupadi. I can't catch my son. What am I going to do? And Krishna finally goes, okay, fine. I'll let you bind me. Draupadi, she's trying to hold on to her sorry. Finally, she throws her hands. So we have to throw our hands up in dependency of the Lord, that He is going to help us. He's going to help us overcome. Anything that we do that comes with a 1 in front of it that becomes value is because of His mercy. And we just have to have some dependency on Krishna and our Guru and do our best we can with love. I'll stop right there. Is there any questions, comments, thoughts? Hare Krishna. It's okay. We'll give it a second because there was a lot in those purports, a lot in what we read.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. When you talked about how it's a poor fund of knowledge that keeps us bound in ignorance, I was thinking that when you're giving class, you're pouring fun knowledge into my ears. You're presenting Krishna consciousness in a very fun way, and I really appreciate that. I just thought maybe you could elaborate a little more about why was it that Sudama Vipra was so dear to Krishna?
He was so dear to Krishna because he was Krishna's friend. When we have a relationship of friendship or family, it overcomes so much. When our friend has shown us so many times that they care about us and they make a mistake, whatever. I know you. You're my friend. And so friendship overcomes so many shortcomings that the devotee or the living entity can have, that Krishna closes his eyes when the shortcoming comes and opens it when any act of love is coming. And so Srila Prabhupada says in one of the purports earlier in this canto that we have a natural propensity to love our family, to love our friends. And that's good. But become friends, become family with Krishna, and expand your family. And with that comes the ability to just forget things that aren't so important. When our kids, you have children, when our kids get into the cupboard and take the ingredient that was meant for dinner, it's frustrating. But you love them so much, it's like, okay, what am I going to do? I'll make something different. So, friendship. And we could go, I'll move on here and see if anybody hasn't, but we can also see this in his relationship with Arjuna. Srila Prabhupada says in this purport that Arjuna commands Krishna to go to the center. And the language that the way he translated it right there was very strong. Very strong. Go to the center. I want to see what's going on. This is the taxi driver. The chariot driver is the taxi driver, the chauffeur. And Krishna's like, no problem. He's my friend. So, the friendship. Yes.
I just wanted to mention, I really appreciated in that purport how Prabhupada clarifies that it's not the devotee that conquers Krishna, but it's the love that conquers Krishna. Anyway, thank you very much. I just wanted to add that. Very
And
nice class, Prabhu.
The temple president's here, so I got to talk about the temple. But this mood in our temple can overcome so much, right? You've seen it. That when we have when we look at our temple as a family, the shortcomings we come with other devotees, it's not such a big deal. But when we start to get to this perspective of enemy, duality, these kinds of things, then all of a sudden problems get inflated where they cause damage. If we can, as devotees, have a mood of friendship and family, will quarrel stop? No. But they'll be done in a different way that will actually grow in relationship. And that's the amazing thing about how we have a perspective of love and friendship and family within a devotee community, is there will be quarrel, but we come out of it with grown relationships, with better appreciation of each other's, instead of coming out of it thinking lesser. Love. Hare Krishna. Any other comments, questions, thoughts? Mishra Bhagavan Prabhu. And then Tulsi Saki Prabhu.
Throughout these purports, there's numerous references to Krishna's devotees. And that must mean devotees, all the devotees, right? Maybe the whole universe, all the devotees in the universe, or all the devotees in all of creation. But here and we know we're not the body, we're spirit, soul, and we're all potentially devotees. But even though we have that pure spirit soul is the same, it's just like, fire in every kind of wood, we still see there's always segregation in our community. Like there's people say there's Western devotees, or there's Indian devotees, or there's Russian devotees.
There's women gurus and male gurus.
Yeah,
Some
different.
can't be gurus.
There's so many. In the purport, it's just devotees.
Yeah, right?
But in our dealings, we make designations. There's look, only Western devotees are in this class today, or
Yeah.
only, what are the Indian devotees doing? What America and Russia are at war with each other. How does that affect? Or like in Ukraine, that's a big thing. There's because Russia and Ukraine are going to war, and the devotees are completely caught up in it. Also, some not necessarily that they want to be, but just there's the Ukrainian devotees, there's the Russian devotees. So, how do we come up to the just become devotees? How does that? How do we become free from all bodily designations, even from amongst Vaishnavas?
Well, we first of all, we do sadhana that brings up to a platform where we can start reading about the spiritual world. And in the spiritual world, we can see that there's camps. There's different camps with different ideas and different ways of serving Krishna. You got this camp against this camp, gopas against the gopis, stuff like that. So it is natural to a certain degree. However, it's unnatural and is hurtful when we don't have Krishna in the center. So how we get there to this point is we follow sadhana bhakti to a point where we come up to hear about the pastimes of Krishna and what's going on in the spiritual world with the right perspective. And when we hear it from the right perspective, we can learn to discern about these things that are natural. Like, okay, who is the group of devotees that I feel very enthusiastic to serve with? And we might argue and fight with those other devotees sometimes quarrel, and like I was saying, but when it becomes for Krishna, there's not the ending of the story is always good. It's always a happy ending. And so instead of an ending where people feel less enthusiastic about Krishna consciousness, so we follow the process. And we come up to a point where we can hear and understand properly. Please pray for me. Okay, Prabhu? Is that okay? What do you think? Yeah? Tulsi Saki Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you for a nice class. There were so many topics covered, it's almost impossible to go over, discuss them all. One point that struck me was Mother Yashoda, the whole time that she was trying to mind Krishna, and it was this impossible, she wasn't able to do it. She had she was smiling, and all the other gopis were also smiling. So I think that was such a beautiful mood that was highlighted, that when we are aware that in the service of Krishna there are difficulties and challenges, if we can always smile and know that, okay, Krishna is doing this, then it would make our problems, actually enjoyable, because it's in the service of Krishna. So, I mean, of course, again, Prabhupada is also saying, she's a Nitya Siddha, and nobody, sadhana siddhas can't be like, she's a very exalted, and bringing out how exalted she is, but in her activities, the example for us to follow is, that smile she had the whole time she was trying to mind Krishna. So that was such a beautiful thing.
I really appreciate this point. Like, we can take that instruction from Mother Yashoda and put it into our life. That, like, when things are swirling, when drama's happening and stuff like that, smile and say, I know you're doing something. I don't know what you're up to. But it lightens it up a little bit where we can see it in a different, it doesn't mean that it's not important. It doesn't mean to take care of, right? But it can totally change that perspective that, oh wait, he's being mischievous. Kalashanji's maybe mischievous.
This morning, Prabhupada was talking to me from my little red box. Does everybody have one of those little red Prabhupada box? They're easy to find in Mayapur, you know. Anyway, it's all of Prabhupada's lectures, all of his kirtans, everything Prabhupada that was recorded is inside this tiny little red box. So it's interesting. So anyway, I always turn it on when I'm getting ready to come to the temple in the morning. So this morning, Prabhupada was saying how if you have a pinch of desire for anything in the material world, then you will not be able to go to the spiritual world. Which, you know, and I was thinking that doesn't look very good for the home team. Because we have a lot of material desires, and they don't seem to be going away. All that, they're not all gone. There's still a pinch, maybe more than one pinch. But we hear that devotees go back to God, or that there was a dog, for instance. Sivananda Sain had a dog, and he got some prasadam from Lord Chaitanya, threw him some coconut pulp, and the dog went back to Godhead. So this love of Krishna, can that overcome our shortcomings and our material desires, so we can go back to Godhead? How do we get that kind? It seems like there's some kind of special mercy that there's like honorary degrees that they say, you know, people that didn't go to college, but they still get the degree. So how can we get some kind of special mercy that
it's the only
overrides
thing. It's the only thing. We can't overcome our attachments. We can't. Like, Yoga Maya is so strong. She's so powerful. We cannot overcome this energy without Krishna doing all the hard lifting. So what do? We cry. We realize how insignificant, how dependent we are. How we are dependent on Krishna actually giving us something so that we can overcome, that we cry. Krishna, I don't know what to do. I mean, when we start getting into the details of how we have to discern so much as devotees, we have to discern what is good association, what's not good association. Then we have to understand from that good association how we serve in that association. Then we have to discern when we're speaking from the mind or the intelligence. We have to get past that to a point where we're coming and speaking from the soul, no longer speaking from the intelligence or the mind. These things are impossible to overcome. Really, it's like it's impossible unless we have this mercy of the spiritual master who sees the sincerity in the devotee, that is trying their best, that is becoming a gentle disciple, that is inquiring submissively, that is rendering service, and then we start overcoming things. And then that's the big trap, because sometimes we'll think it's us, that our austerities are overcoming them. And that's one trap that we have to be careful is that when we do start getting the mercy, we don't start to take ownership of it. And we have to instead become more dependent. Oh, my spiritual master gave me this. Krishna helped me with this. I'm even more dependent on them. I see how even more small I am. Hanumat Bashak Swami says if he's going up to the spiritual world, it said that when you go up to the spiritual world, you're on an airplane, right? And you go through every scenario. He says if there's an office depot, I might be in trouble. He likes to organize things, you know? But I also heard from Maharaj about how he trains himself, practices to be able to start putting himself in the position of understanding how it's everything is for Krishna. Now this is these things are for Krishna. These things are for Krishna. Oh, I made a mistake. I thought that was mine. It's okay. Let's shift. Let's shift. Let's shift. Let's shift. And over time, over years of practicing with sincerity, we can see that we start seeing things as Krishna more. Krishna. When it ends, he says, okay. Our spiritual master says, okay, I got you. You know. So we have to throw up our hands. If we try to hold on with one hand, we're gonna be staying here. We're gonna be fighting. Not fun fight. What do you guys think? Anybody have any comments, thoughts? Maya Prabhu?
I heard that Bhaktivinoda Thakur said that progress is a series of small steps headed in the right direction. So I may have so many, like a material desire. Okay, next time maybe I have a little less. You know, it may not just come all at once. Maybe sometimes, I mean, at least for myself, I have that tendency to put high expectations. Think, you know, I'll get over this material attachment right away. But I can see that, you know, a little less.
Okay. So many wonderful purports by Srila Prabhupada. Talked about how we can read Srila Prabhupada's purports in a perspective of how we can take that purport and share with others. And we talked about this pastime of Krishna and about dependency and love being the ultimate binder of Krishna. And that we can make steps in that love, in that dependency. And by Krishna's mercy, by Srila Prabhupada's mercy, we'll get there. We will. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaura Pramanande Hari Hari Bol. Vanchikopatrubhyascha. Kripa Sindhubhyevacha. Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah.